Okay, Barbara, can you see me now?
We gotta get off this little screen and click on it, Barb. There you go. Okay.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Do you have your book right next to you, Barbara?
Yes, I do.
We are celebrating today. Hold the book up just right up in front of the screen, The Pilferage of the Caves. Barbara, tell us about this. And Barbara is an accomplished. She's done so many things in her life, and we're celebrating this day. You can put the book down because we need to see your beautiful face.
Thank you.
So Barbara, this book is fascinating, and I would like for you to share a little bit about how this book came about, because it's an interesting story. And if we could have that conversation.
Okay. Through my travels throughout Asia and Europe, I happened to meet a man by the name of Dr. Win-Min Lee, and he introduced me to a source here in the United States who was connected with construction and what have you around in Mexico. He recalled me one day and he said, "Barbara, I've got a request from a gentleman that's a very close friend of mine, and he's from Guatemala. He's traveled from Guatemala. He's been an explorer, excuse me, and he worked with a financier and a lawyer who was a member of a very large law firm in Dallas, Texas. That man paid for this expedition into Guatemala for the Mayan collection of artifacts. And they went 40 years doing this. And this man that I was to meet traveled with them, guided them through the jungles. And so he verified the story that he was telling me. Reina Guzman was his name. And he called me and he said that Julio had asked him to call me. They thought I could write this book and would write it. I would stand by my commitment to do so. And he began the story by telling me this horrible existence of what a trip this was for these guys to make. Through the jungles, there was all types of experiences. There was fascinating care. I'm sorry. There were wars going on. There were guerrilla wars going on. There were Indians. They plowed through the jungle. Now remember, this was a long time ago. With machetes, that's all the equipment they had to clear their paths. They met with all types of people, various huts that they designed, and these were all just Indians. Anyway, he told me this story, and he went on and on to tell me about the various experiences that they had, all of which led him to the destruction of these people. They lost their wealth, they lost everything they put into it, and they died. And he didn't want to see them die. He was hoping to do it before they died, to be able to tell them that their word was in the thing. I don't want to go into too much depth of it because it's in the book, but I think that there's enough said that there was all kinds of corruption going on, government versus people, people versus government. There were killings, there was murder, there was all kinds of problems that existed. But I try to explain a little bit as I go along. Anyway, that's how I got the information for the book. Writing it was another story.
I can only imagine that must have been something to really put it on paper and then have the courage to say, I think it's time for it to go to the public.
Well, that was one of the problems that this gentleman had, and I'm glad you made that point. He kept looking over his shoulder throughout the meeting with him and saying, "Barbara, if you write this, be aware that somebody may come after you." Because you see, it involved, as I said, government officials, particularly the governments of Guatemala and Honduras. Well, today those men are dead. So I don't think I have any fear or have to look over my shoulder unless there's somebody out there that wants to get into this. But he was scared to death, and he was shaking as he was telling me the story. He kept saying, please do it, but watch yourself, be careful. And he almost discouraged me from taking the story and doing it. but I took the information and I promised Renee when we left, I said, I will put this in writing for you. I promise. And that was it. That was it. And I went home, and from that point on, it was experiences of life that took me away a little bit and brought me back to him this recent year. I was forced to stay in a bed with a broken hip, and so I took care of writing the book. And I feel good that I did it. I love receiving the book. I love seeing it. I think they would be so proud. And if they were up in heaven right now looking down at us, they'd say, bravo, you did a hell of a job. So I thank you for doing this too, Becky, because you were a tremendous help to me.
So what was it like to actually get that book in your hands and to see it really come to life just on the printed page?
Oh, it was such a warm feeling, and it was such a gratifying feeling. It was, holy cow, do I kiss it? What do I do? It was a wonderful book to get a hold of. You know, I wrote another book, but it was a textbook and it had no feeling to it. This had feeling, and it had a lot of feeling inside and out.
Well, it's a legacy to those gentlemen that went through so much, you know, trying to uncover what these artifacts were and the journey they had. And it took up, I'm sure it consumed most of their lives.
That's right. It was most of their lives. And they really unlocked a mystery to the Mayan civilization, because they discovered these artifacts, which were true Mayan artifacts. And they shipped them to Paris, to Dresden, to Milan, and they think one is at the Vatican, and then one is at the University of Mexico in Mexico City, and then Ben took one to Israel with him, and we don't know where it happened to it. That one is missing.
Wow, what a journey! So, are there any other books in your that are going to come up as far as that you're in the works now?
I have it up in my head, but not writing. I have a couple, but I don't know if I could do it right now. I'm just exhausted from this one.
Yes,
but
it's a lot of work to get a book out to the market.
Well, there was a lot of research involved with this too. Remember, it wasn't just writing a book and what a man told me. I had to be absolutely certain there was some truth to it. I didn't want to be printing false information. And I wanted to make sure that what he said had some truth to it, that it wasn't just some old man dreaming. The other thing that concerned me, which is why I had the book copywritten almost immediately, is this man traveled from Guatemala to Honduras, back up through Dallas and into Arizona, and Mexico and Arizona. I wanted to be sure that he didn't tell this story to a dozen people, and somebody out there might have written it as well. Mm-hmm. I think I closed that book. But I do have another book in time. I've written a textbook. I don't want to do a textbook again. It took me 3 years to write that one. This one took a year. That was long enough. But I would like to write another book, but not like this.
And I think your husband's sitting on the side. He's got a book coming up too, doesn't he?
Yes, he does, and it's the cutest little book you ever saw.
The children's book, isn't it?
Yes, it's a children's book. It's about, of course, Tom is a Marine. He'll always be a Marine, and it's about a little helicopter who was born to a Marine in the Marine Corps. And tell him the rest. I want you to have that privilege.
Well, it's about a little grunt. In Marine talk, a grunt is somebody who doesn't fly, and a zoomie is somebody who does. And so the Marine Corps took the little helicopter that came out of the factory because of a computer glitch, much smaller than his brothers and with wavy blades. And when the test pilots tried to make him fly, he couldn't fly. So, but they took him anyway, and he spent most of his Marine career sitting off to one side of the airport and providing parts now and then and so forth, and then feeling very unfulfilled because all his brothers were going out and flying into heroic situations and coming back and influencing the world's events. And one day, some gentleman came with a truck, picked him up, and put him on the truck and took him over to a little park with a nearby. There was a lake there, and they put him right alongside it, and they put him a new coat of paint on, and they new emblems, even put a face on him. And he sat there and that's what he did. He served the town, and the children of the town played on him for many, many years.
Aww.
And
It's a cute little book, isn't it?
Yes, and we'll be looking forward to getting that out as well. So
Yes.
it sounds like a fascinating little story. Well, you both have, you're giving back to the world in such amazing ways, and you've really served an amazing life. You've kind of done a lot of traveling, and it was fascinating as I read your bio, all the things that you've done. So, it's a rewarding, it's beautiful, and we're so proud to be able to help you bring this book to the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so, do you have any closing thoughts that you want to talk about as far as what you hope this book does for the reader?
My book, I hope, it's interesting. I've had several people come back to me with comments on the book. And one of the comments was, why didn't I write more like this? Why didn't I write more page? And I said, that's all the man told me. But that's how I limited myself. But there is more. There's more that can be added, and there are sequels that could be written, I think. But I have to think about it a little bit. But he liked the book, and several people have liked the book. Not that I'm conceited about it, but they really enjoyed it. They said it was a great story, and they liked the way I put it together, or you didn't, Becky. But
no, you were the writer. That takes a lot of work to be the writer.
Oh, well, anyway, I would love to do it again. I think it's fun. With the first book, the author of the Prentice Hall employed 6 of us, 5 others who had written textbooks, and sent us to Europe on a weekday tour of various countries. We sold it to universities in Europe. And so that was kind of fun, but that was 3 years in the writing. And this book was just fun to write. It was fun to recall the events and the man shaking in his boots, telling to me. And someone said to me, which was interesting, he of course gave me all the war and the evil and stuff at all. But someone said to me, Barbara, the book needs a female, it needs love. And so I said, okay. So I put an Indian lady in it, and they made love.
I remember that segment too. Yeah. How awesome. Well, I really wanted to say congratulations. Congratulations for having, just taking the time to do this, because I know that it's not an easy feat to bring a book to the world. There's a lot to it. And just really, really want to compliment you on bringing an amazing story, really, truly an amazing. It's a slice of history that many of us don't know about.
That's true. And there's ways to find out. There's a Latin American research center in California, which is where I did most of my research. And it's very interesting. A lot of this is written in there. Prove the story is true.
How fascinating. Wow. And I know you qualified it because you said it was fiction based on fractional truths.
I'm sorry?
You qualified your book in the subtitle saying it's fiction based on fractional truths.
That's right. That's because, come on, let's face it, the romance didn't happen.
Got to add some flavor to it, huh? Yeah. Well, congratulations, and
thank you again.
We have the book out being a lot of people will see this video, but it's on Amazon now, and is getting circulation. I've got it out to my mailing list as well. So congratulations. Very good.
Peace and
All
love.
right, let's stay in touch, and we're just very much really proud to help you bring this to the world.
Thank you so much. I'm
Awesome.
pleased with it. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So now I've got to figure out how to
How to say goodbye.
stop streaming live.